Farmer. Thank you so much, sir, for being part of this. Your story is inspiring. Highs and lows. And anyway, so guitar nerds, rock band people, this is Dwight Farmer. He's a lifetime musician, lifelong musician, and spiritual man. We are going to we're going to get your story, all of it. We're going to talk about music and spirituality and whatever it is to you. We're going to get your story in the next hour. So how you doing these days, Dwight?
I am doing well these days. Actually I'm driving a truck now too, as well as all the other stuff. Got to buy guitar strings, you know. So yeah, my wife and I just bought a house not too long ago, just late in the fall of last year. And God's good, man. It's just working. Things are going really well.
That's wonderful. That's wonderful. All right. So how'd you get started in music? Go back to the Wayback Machine, way back to the beginning.
Wayback Machine. I always knew I wanted to play all my life. I got my first guitar when I was 3. I was pestering my parents for a guitar at that time. And I got my first electric guitar when I was 6. And wound up playing in a little elementary school band for a little while there. And I got kicked out of my first band, elementary school.
All right.
And there were too many guitar players in the band. It was funny. And a couple of guys wound up going on and becoming just really good musicians themselves. I was playing in my bands out in clubs and stuff from the time I was in my early teens.
Okay.
I was, I'd say 15 years old, I think it's when I first started playing clubs. And,
So this is like the Vanity, your first band was like Vanity CT.
that was actually before that. The Vanity CT was like junior high school, I think. We didn't really go play anywhere, but we were playing around.
Were these cover bands?
Yeah, primarily they were cover bands. Yeah. And the one of the kids that I was playing with in Vanity CT went on into Horizon and stuff later. So we kind of stuck together for a while. But,
so all these bands are your first bands, like Destiny, Horizon, Secrets.
Yep.
Yeah, those are all.
Well, Secrets came later, but that was a band that I joined later on down the road. But I mean, it's just I was playing all the time. My dad wound up kind of getting behind me because he figured I wasn't going to do anything else but play music. So he owned a bar, and he owned some buildings that he leased out for businesses. So he gave us one of those buildings to rehearse in, and wound up buying some PA and bought us a old school bus that we primered all over and partially turned into a band vehicle.
All right.
And see, I got kicked out. I got kicked out of the house when I was 18.
Okay. And
hitchhiked to California to join a band. I mean, I always followed music throughout my life, wherever it went,
Yeah.
And so that whole hitchhike trip, it could be a book in itself. There was crazy, insane stuff that happened through all of that.
Yeah.
And wound up in South Lake Tahoe, California, which was really amazing and beautiful and awesome. Got there, didn't really even know what we were going to do. But the singer, I went with my singer, Ricky West. He's still around, man, Facebook and everything. And I wound up getting the plan was I had a girlfriend who I'd been with for about 3 years or so, and we're kids, but I was just turned 18. It was the month I turned 18 that I left, and she gave me a call one time, or I called her, and she asked me to come home, and So I thought about it, and I decided things were just getting ready to take off there. Just starting to get a job, just starting to get things lined up. So I wound up spending 5 days on the bus, coming back with no money for food or anything. And the day I got back, she broke up with me for somebody else.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but we were just kids, like I said.
Yeah. So when you started playing when you're like you got your first electric at 8?
6, I think.
6.
Yeah. 6. Yeah.
Are you self-taught?
Yeah. Yep. 100%.
How does that happen? Because people nowadays don't understand this because there's no such thing. There's no such thing as self-taught right now because you can always get tips from YouTube.
Oh yeah, man. Yeah,
That
is absolutely right, man. It's amazing. I mean, I go to YouTube nowadays to look for stuff. You know? I was just obsessive and compulsive, and just
music was that thing to be obsessive compulsive with.
Yeah, man.
It turned you into success. Yeah.
Yeah. Just banging on it and banging on it, making noise and making people mad, and getting the cops called on you every once in a while because you're too loud.
Who are you like at like 6 and 8 and 10 years old? Who are you listening to? Who are your heroes?
Chuck Berry.
Okay.
That was crazy, but one of my favorite songs at the time was My Ding-a-Ling.
All right.
Because you know, I mean, you're 6, 8 years old, and that's just funny.
Well, you're 53 and it's still funny.
Oh man, yeah. I'm 59.
Yeah, I'm 53.
Are you, dude? I tell you what, man.
Yeah.
Getting old, brother.
Yeah. Yes.
But, yeah. So listen to a lot of that stuff, and my dad was an Elvis freak, so I listened to Elvis and stuff all the time. So
as a teenager, what are you listening to? What are your bands like? Vanity PT and Destiny. What kind of stuff were you guys vibing?
Well, we were just kind of jamming on whatever at that time. We were doing like blues stuff, you know, little boogie woogie, you know, the little hey those kind of little things at that time. A little later, in the little later teens, I got into Ted Nugent was my dude, man.
Yeah.
You know, Stranglehold was that was the stuff there. Got into the Kiss Army.
Oh yeah. Just
Black Sabbath. Yeah, man. Yeah. Black Sabbath and oh my gosh, Aerosmith, Black Sabbath, Nazareth, Hair of the Dog, man. Yeah. I burnt that up on an 8-track. 8-track, because you know, that was in
Fog Hat, and there's
Fog Hat, man.
Yeah. All those things. All right, so you're leaving, you go through high school kind of vibing this stuff. Did you write back then? Yeah, I did. Absolutely.
Yeah. Yep. I was writing. I can't remember the first time when I first started writing, but I was writing all the time. A lot of the stuff that I was doing, even back in the Vanity CT days and all of that, was original riffs and just writing guitar music and stuff. And then later on I started adding lyrics and doing stuff like that. But, I wrote some really crazy stuff, and by the time I was 18, 19 years old, I was doing some, I was getting pretty.
Were you singing too?
A little. I was mainly a guitar player, but I would write the songs and sing them, and you know, I'd be.
You could sing enough to get the idea.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I've done a lot more singing lately. I mean, in the last, I don't know, 30 years. 20.
Yeah.
But so I was always mainly a guitar player.
Okay. Yep. All right. So now, so you went out to California. You came back. What happened then?
I wound up coming back from California, and the singer that I went to California, we wound up putting her. I think it was Horizon that we put together. You have to remember, my memory is extremely blurry in a lot of stuff at time. I mean, I did a lot of drugs, I did a lot of alcohol, and my memory was already bad to begin with. So, but So the singer came and from California and moved into the studio I was telling you about that my dad let us use. And he wound up living in that studio, which was just a building with a mattress in it. And I mean, it was, had all the band equipment and stuff in it. And so we played in that band for a while.
Which one was that?
That was Horizon.
Okay.
And so that was starting to cut the teeth and as a regular kind of a club gig type thing there too, and pretty sure it's Horizon. The names kind of escaped me. And I mean, we did, I mean, you start realizing you're in rock and roll. We played a show, I believe it was just outside of Indianapolis. I lived in Indiana this whole time. And remember coming out of the club one night, we had, there were some guys that came out and they really didn't like us very well because I think their girlfriends liked us, Right. And so they came out and tried to start a fight, we're loading up the bus, the primer bus.
Yeah.
And the singer wound up holding them off with a mic stand while the rest of us finished loading up. And we got in and we blazed out of there. They chased us down 465 shooting at us with a gun. And we've got the lights blinking like this and swerving all over the road, just trying to get a cop's attention or something because we thought we were going to get killed.
Yeah.
And that was.
It sounds like a country song.
Yeah, man.
What was I thinking? That was it. Remember that video?
Yeah, brother, I do.
Yeah.
That's cool, man. Yeah. Lots of those stories out there, man.
Well, that you had, your life was more fun than mine.
Oh man, I don't know if I'd call it fun.
You have war stories.
Yeah, war stories.
So after Horizon, did you go out back to California? Did you ever go back or no?
Yeah. I wound up and I can't remember exactly how things fell into place, but of course the band broke up or whatever, and the singer went back out to California because that's where he was from. He had relatives that lived in Alexandria, Indiana, is where I'm from. It's a little town of 6,000 people, and had some really great musicians in a little town. I mean, it's amazing how that works, right? So I hooked up with this guy's cousin, and my buddy had given me a call and said, "Hey, yeah, man, we're trying to get a band going out here and whatnot. And I got a place you can stay, and it's the singer again." So his cousin and I jumped on a bus and went out to California. And we wound up staying in this like 1-bedroom studio apartment with with my singer and his girlfriend.
Yeah.
And it's beautiful. I mean, we're right down at the bottom of Heavenly Valley in South Lake Tahoe, California, where all the ski slopes are and all that. All right. Gorgeous. But and then his cousin kept coming up with stuff. And he was coming up with money that we didn't know he had. And one time he came up and he had these coins and he said, "Hey, my mom sent me these coins and I want to take them to the pawn shop and get some money." And we're like going, okay. So we took him to the pawn shop and dropped him off, and we're sitting there waiting. All of a sudden the cops come. We had like 3 or 4 cop cars pull up real quick, and they come dragging him out in handcuffs. He had been robbing the houses and the apartments. I mean, the apartments in the apartment complex we lived in. We didn't even know it.
All right.
And he was, while we were gone out working and doing our stuff, he was walking around stealing stuff, So
you didn't get busted for any of that, did you?
What's that?
You weren't in trouble for that.
Oh no.
No.
I mean, I've never stole a thing.
Well, I know, but I know if he's waiting for a ride, if you're his getaway.
Yeah, I know. Well, yeah, true.
Yeah.
I mean, we after we seen the cops come, we just backed up and left. I mean, it was his cousin, but we were like, we seen him go in and grab him, put him in handcuffs. We're like, no, we're not even going to stick around. We don't, I don't know whatever happened to him. I'm sure he got out at some point, but it was, I was 19 then.
Yeah.
That was a bizarre time.
Yeah. So let's talk a little bit about some of your teenage, like your upbringing. And
okay.
Some of the stuff that you were So you were out at, you got kicked out at 18?
Yeah, I was kicked out at 16. I was kicked out at 18.
Mhm.
And then, yeah, I mean, we had a little kind of a tumultuous, family relationship going on. I mean, we loved each other, but we didn't really speak about love that much. We never really said, I love you, and all that.
Mhm.
And my dad and I would butt heads, sometimes. And I remember one thing I learned when I got kicked out at 16, I was into, lifting weights. I was into Jeet Kune Do. I was into all kinds of martial arts, and I thought I was kind of tough. And he and I got in a fight one time, and he stood up and came at me, and I pushed him real hard, knocked him across a couple tables in his bar. And the next thing I knew, I was up against the wall, lifted up with his fist back in my face, and I was like, "Lesson: don't mess with an old man." That was the lesson. And I got kicked out of the house after all that for a while. Went down to my other guitar player's house and wound up sleeping in his backyard for a little while there. Kind of decided things to come. Yeah, but I wound up back in the house. And, just continued to play, and it's just I just always, no matter what's that.
Chase the music.
Yeah, that's it, exactly. I just went. That's all I wanted to do was play, and nothing else was going to deter me from that.
Yeah, it's no, there's no plan B.
No plan B. No, there was no. I used to always, from the time that I can remember, I always had in my mind that when the time came and I was laying on my deathbed, that I would be proud enough to tell, what am I going to be proud enough to tell my grandkids or great grandkids or whatever I have there. And the fact is that I didn't give up on my dream, and I pursued it to the end, whether I won, whether I lost, whether I was successful or not. But I didn't quit because I felt that's where I was supposed to be.
Yeah. That's wonderful. That's I don't know that people are taught that anymore.
No, man.
I think parents are afraid.
Yeah.
They always want you to have a plan B.
Right. Yeah.
I was never that guy either. I was never that guy either.
Yeah. Yeah. Back in our day, it was, go set your sights, you don't quit, you succeed,
Yeah. But so the Pack, we're gonna go. There's a long list of bands that you played in, but the Pack, is that the last of the first bands?
That's the last of the Indiana bands.
Okay, the Indiana bands.
Yeah, all of those.
So Indiana, this is like kind of like John Cougar land.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Yep.
Exactly. So that was this was like classic rock-ish.
Yeah. I mean, this is Henry Lee Summer, John Cougar. Whenever you played the circuit, you had to play John Cougar songs, right?
Yes.
And so you had to do a lot of that stuff. There wasn't much in the way of original music there. There was no place to play original music.
Yeah.
What you had to do was you would do an album or something of your own, and whenever you played clubs, you would sneak in your own originals, a couple of them a set here and there, and so people didn't get bored because they didn't know the songs. So that was the way that we had to go about that. A little bit later on, a band named Sweet FA, which I became friends with. They were a fantastic band. They started busting the original market open around.
This is in Indiana.
Yeah, in Indiana. Yeah,
because I've heard of them.
Have you? Yeah,
I've heard of them.
They're from Indy.
Huh?
They're from Indy. They were from Indy. And they came to our shows and got to be friends, hung out with them a lot.
Yeah.
We'd go to their shows and support them because they were trying to do original shows. Remember, they had a Send Sweet FA to LA in May tour, which they were trying to go get signed, and that was the tour that they actually signed with MCA, I think. So we always tried to support them. We'd go to their shows, buy tickets and merch and do whatever we could.
Was your Indiana scene really tight, or was it kind of scattered?
There's all the same bands, if you know what I mean, running around. I lived in a small town, about 50, 60 miles from Indianapolis. So I didn't hang out a lot in the indie circuit whenever we weren't playing. I mean, I went some. I'd go see bands like Sweet FA and some other ones like that when I could. Yeah, it was cover band world, and everybody was trying to get originals going, and finally after Sweet FA did the thing, their manager, I believe, and don't quote me on all this, or don't say this is law or rules, but he wound up with someone else, I think, opening up a club that was all originals.
Okay.
And that was the greatest thing, since sliced bread for us, because that's what we were looking for. I mean, and so we wound up getting to go play some. Yeah, I don't think it was open for a very long time, but it was cool.
So how did you get with the Godz? So let's talk about that.
Okay. I had been in the pack, and our sound or our light man, we had a good crew. We had a sound man, a light man, guitar tech, and our light man had been the light man for a band called Why on Earth out of Indianapolis. They were an extremely good band. They were very popular. They'd been around for quite a while. And we had opened a show, I believe, for the Godz at a place called the Enterprise with a band called Deluxe that I was with back. So I seen them. And whenever I saw them play, it was Mark Chatfield and all those guys, and I was just like blown away. I just loved them. I was like, man, these guys are cool. Just love the style. Anyway, it turns out that JoJo Weekend was one of the guitar players from Why on Earth, and I don't know his story, but all I know was he was playing with the Godz, and through my light man, who was friends of his, and the pack had just broken up. My light man, and who was a good friend of mine too, told me about the Godz looking for a guitar player, and I had nothing in front of me in Indiana at the time, and I remembered the Godz, and I was like, oh yeah, I'm definitely interested in that. And so I left. I wound up getting in touch. I don't remember all the details, but talking to Eric Moore, and I wound up going out for an audition and to talk to them. And I remember the first, on our way out there, I didn't have a driver's license. Okay, you have to realize I had 6 DUIs by this time. I spent 6 months in jail for habitual offender and all of that stuff. And so I had a friend of mine drive me to Columbus, and the Al Rosa Villa, which I know you're not from Columbus, but I'm sure you.
Yeah.
So
essential to everybody's growth.
Oh yeah, man.
It's like an incubator.
Yeah. It is.
In Columbus.
The Al Rosa was a legendary icon of music. It was phenomenal. So as we pulled up, it had been raining. We pulled up in this guy's pickup truck. There was a huge boulder that used to set right out in front of the place. And he hit the brakes and we slid right into the boulder, crashed head, just boom. So I was like, welcome to Ohio. So that was my first stop in Ohio, was crashing into the boulder in this thunderstorm, going in to see the Godz. So it was.
Should have been a red flag.
I was going to say, man, then it got crazy after that.
Yeah. So the audition went well, I'm guessing, because.
Yeah, it went well, and I was a very different style than than what Eric was used to. I think I was a little more at the time back then. I was a little more, and I don't know, Zakk Wylde. Doing a lot of whammy bar action and a lot of double hand stuff and arpeggio things.
He didn't let you He didn't let you have a pedal board, did he?
Yeah, I did. Yeah, I didn't actually. No, whenever I came in, I had I had that $23,000 rig that I was telling you about earlier.
Yeah.
And I brought it in. I brought in my rack, and he said, he goes, man, I dig up. You don't need all that stuff. All you need is a Marshall head and a stack of Marshalls. That's all you need. You don't need all that. You know.
Yeah.
I kept it. I didn't get rid of it. But yeah,
Yeah.
he was funny. He was a funny guy.
Yeah. Ricky Soga said it's like he yanked his cable out of the effects unit and just plugged it right into the amplifier.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the Boulder is the Dimebag Rock now. The Dimebag Rock now. The Boulder.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
Oh, really? I didn't know that.
That's what Mike says.
That's awesome, man.
Yeah.
Wow.
So
Dang.
okay, so you get with the Godz, and then you start traveling all over.
Yeah, we started traveling a little. We did a few. We did a couple little tours, and had some crazy stuff happen. I had when I said earlier, I had in Deluxe in the band in Indiana, we had the light man who turned me on to Eric through our mutual, their mutual guy, our sound man, and the guitar tech. The guitar tech we had was a young guy. He was like 21 years old, and he looked like me. He used to get confused by me, and I was dating his sister for years, and he was like a little brother to me. While I was when I was out in Columbus, he got killed in a horrific car accident. So I went back to Columbus to see him, and I got back to Indiana to see the showing. And when I got back to Columbus, just in time to get on the RV to head out on the tour. So we did this little tour thing with Tommy Thunder's band, and JoJo Fastridge was there. He was on tour. I met him when I first came into town. He's one of the first people I met.
Yeah.
JoJo's awesome.
Yeah.
So we wound up at a show in Illinois, or not Illinois, but Pennsylvania somewhere, and I can't remember the name of the town because I'm sure you would know it. And Eric always passed around a bottle of Jack Daniels. That was part of the show, on stage. And I never drank it. I just faked it, because I had been sober for about 3 years at that time. I drank this stuff, mostly sober. That time, since my little buddy had died, I took the drink. So I wound up drinking a bunch of Jack as he was passing it around. I was just chugging it. And next thing I know, we're playing a song, and I look down, and the headstock of my guitar is hanging from the lock nut, just swinging, and it's still in tune. And I'm playing. I read over to Eric, and I go, "Dude, my guitar's broke." He goes, "Shut up and play," and just walked away from me. So I kept playing, and then the next thing I know, I'm waking up in our motel room. JoJo was in there. He was pulling the trailer. So he had the trailer and all this stuff together, and he had the key. And I went over and woke him up. I said, "Dude, give me the keys to the trailer." He goes, "Your guitars aren't in there." And I was like, "What?" He goes, "You don't remember?" I was like, "No." He goes, you broke your Kramer guitar, the blue guitar." He goes, "You smashed it on stage and you threw it out in the crowd." And then I had a Jackson, Dinky, Jackson Dinky, and it would never stay in tune. So I guess I got mad at it, swung it around, and flung it across the stage and busted it against the wall, and threw that out in the crowd. And I had no more guitars to play. And don't ask me why, but the guitar player for Tommy Thunder's band let me borrow his guitar.
Yeah.
And I wound up using it for the rest of the
No offense,
tour.
I wouldn't.
No, man, no offense. I wouldn't either. I
Yeah.
was like, "Dude, I can't believe you're doing this, man." He goes, "Oh, it's all right." But I would never break somebody else's stuff. But,
Yeah.
I would just, wow, that was insane. So we finished out the show, and I wound up having to scrounge to get some, I had some guitars back at home, but I didn't have anything that I liked that well.
Yeah. So that lasted about a year.
Yeah, about a year and a half, something like that. I think it was like 89 to 90.
How does that end?
There was a guy who was part of the he's part of the Columbus music scene forever, Doak Smith.
Yeah,
You've heard of him probably.
I have.
You know him? Yeah, he's a really good dude, man. Big guy and a bodyguard kind of a guy. And he wound up tour managing for, wait, I got to say this before I get out of the Eric Godz story. That rig that I was talking about, I'll back up just real quick, try to make this fast. My grandmother had passed away. I lost my mom when I was 21. I lost my dad when I was 22. And we were all tied up in a trust fund trying to get money and stuff. And then my grandmother passed away and left money. So I spent $23,000 on a guitar rig because I knew that's what I was going to do the rest of my life. So I put everything I had into this guitar rig. 4 full stacks, a massive, massive rig. And while we were on tour, we had played the Akron Agora, and we went back to the motel room, and finally about 4, and Doug Smith was the tour manager for that tour, for that little gig. So we went back to the motel room, about 4:30, went to bed. 6 o'clock, I got a bang on the door. Doug is asking me, dude, did you move the truck? And I was like, no. And he goes, the truck's missing. I was like, what? Jumped up and ran outside. Sure enough, the truck was gone. Somebody had stole the equipment truck, no insurance, and I lost the entire rig, my entire $23,000 worth of guitar minis and amps and everything else was gone. Boom.
Yeah.
And history. Fortunately, we were getting ready to go to California, which is where this story picks up. And we were getting ready to go out and do the California thing. And now I had no rig, no guitars. I had a guitar or two at home again, and I wound up getting it in shape. But Mark Chatfield, who was the original guitar player for the Godz, came to my rescue. And I had no way I could get a loan. I mean, my credit was horrible, but he got me a Marshall stack and set it up so I could get that, so I could go to California and man, put me right back on my feet. And we got to California, and there was I'm not going to go into detail, but there was an issue after we were there for a little while, and in the end, Dokes Smith and I wound up getting in my truck and coming back to Columbus, and the Godz were over for me at that point.
The Godz were what?
Done. Well, I mean, I was gone. I quit.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't want to get a lot of detail because it was kind of messy, but I got a lot of respect for Eric, and he's missed, and man, I owe that man a lot. He brought me here. Me here. If he didn't bring, so the Godz brought me to Ohio. Wicked Angel, I got the tour, and then I got saved by God. So
did you start Wicked Angel?
No,
you joined it.
Yeah, I joined it. We're jumping ahead a little bit there, but they were around for a number of years, and they.
Yes, you are. Yes, we are. Way okay. There's
You want to back up and pick up?
Yeah, let's Easy Thrill.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. Easy Thrill. Jeff Zachney and hang on a second here. Let me find this stuff because I got little notes that like I said, my memory's horrible.
So 1991 ish.
There we go.
Yeah,
Mike Bright, Jeff Zachney, Kyle Virgin, Rick Martellino played with us for a little while. Just some amazing guys, man, amazing musicians, and we played a lot of shows. We did a lot of opening acts, and opened for a lot of people, and it was a lot of fun.
What kind of who were you vibing off of this?
Mike, our singer, and the bass player were both big Kiss fans.
Okay.
So there was a lot of kind of a Kiss feel as far as the music went.
Yeah.
But it was original though. And they wrote a lot of I would have to say kind of poppy hard rock, if that makes sense. It was a lot, just a lot of fun rock and roll. things. It was a blast. We had a blast playing that stuff. I had a situation where we had opened one time for Slaughter, and we got to do Thanksgiving dinner with them. And I was on stage doing my sound check, and the sound man at the Al Rosa at the time, he and I got along really well. And he just, every time I was there, whenever I started to do the sound check, he just let me run. And I was just waiting for him to tell me to stop, you know. And the tour manager for Slaughter came up and yelled at me and told me to stop playing. And I was like, oops. But later, while we were having Thanksgiving dinner, Dana Strum, which is he's discovered a lot of people.
Randy Rhodes is on top of the list, and Jakey Lee.
Yeah, and Zach Wild too, I think. I think. But anyway, yeah. But I mean, he's had his fingers in a lot of things, and so we're sitting down to Thanksgiving dinner, and he looks over at me and goes, "Why didn't you try out for Ozzy? He just hired a new guitar player." And I'm like, "What? How do you get a hold of Ozzy? You know, you got his number? Can I have it?" You know, I mean, it just kind of.
He does. Yeah,
he does. And then he said David Coverdale was looking for some new blood. He said, "You should give David Coverdale a call." And I was like, "Well, I don't know how to give David Coverdale a call." And then at that point, my bass player jumped up and said, he's joking. He was a comedian. He was a really funny guy. He goes, "Don't go stealing our guitar player." Shut up. And they thought he was serious, and he quit talking. And yeah, so I never got David Coverdale's number. I was kind of bummed, but I was like, man, come on, I was that close. I want to go meet them. If I may not get the gig, but at least I get a meeting. You know.
Yeah. You're like one of 500 people.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly.
So then you got Space Cowboys.
Yep, that was a band back out of Indianapolis, as a matter of fact, and they a really, really good band. I mean, you know, of course, each band that you're in, I mean, you grow, you start, you know, I'm sure you, out there as a musician understands. I mean, each band you learn something new, you learn something.
You're
different.
lucky.
Yeah.
In other words, some people aren't built for growth.
Oh yeah. Oh man, dude, I played in an R&B band back in Indiana, and I was a metal guitar player. It was right after Eddie Van Halen came out with Michael Jackson with "Beat It," and it was the hit thing to have a white metal guitar player in an R&B band. And man, I learned a lot. But anyway, but yeah, so. Space Cowboys was really good. The guitar player they used to have was amazing, and so I had to step in and learn all of these songs and all of these licks and you know, all original stuff, and it stretched me, and it was good. And we came and played the Columbus circuit a lot because I was here in Columbus and I knew, you know, everybody here as well. And we played in Indianapolis as well. As a matter of fact, we became really tight with Hammer Lane and out of Columbus. And Trent Anderson, their guitar player, and I became really, really good friends. He's here at the church now playing. I'll explain that later. But we took him to. There was a battle of the bands in Indianapolis at a place called the Enterprise. So we invited them to the show and help, you know, kind of set that thing up. And what did they do? They filled up a Greyhound type bus and brought it from Columbus to Indianapolis. Indianapolis, they didn't know, I mean, Indianapolis was awesome, but at the time they didn't have a lot of original music at all. So they didn't really know how to stand up, run to the front of the stage and party. They would all sit at their tables and drink their drinks and then clap. They brought their own crowd. And needless to say, man, they smoked everybody. They were good too. I mean, they deserved it. But they came up and it was funny sitting back and looking at the people from Indiana, looking at their faces. This crowd of people just got up and went rushing to the front of the stage, banging their heads and cheering and yelling and holding their hands up. And, that was fun, man. Those were good times, really good times. We also, Space Cowboys, we got to record we had a music attorney that was our manager, and he was from Toronto, and he was actually connected and knew Triumph.
Oh,
So we got to go to Toronto and
Gilmore's,
record.
Gilmore Studio.
Yeah, well, Metalworks was
Yeah.
the name again. Yeah, Gilmore Studio, Metalworks Studio. So we got to go up there, and we had some problems going across because I'd had DUIs in the past, and whenever we were going across the border, they checked my background, and they almost didn't let me into Canada because I had DUIs on my record.
Because apparently you were a drinker.
Yeah, and going to
Canadians.
Canada.
Yeah, right?
Come on, eh?
Yeah, right?
Yeah. So anyway, so we went in and just and met Gilmore and all of those guys, man, and they were just fantastic. Man, they were good people. They were fun. They were cool. Yeah. And I guess Guns N' Roses had been there not too long before that, during that period. It was just kind of, it was fun. And another little rabbit trail, short rabbit trail, because of all the trouble I got into with the trying to get across the border. Our music attorney set it up so I could and worked in so I could get my record expunged. So I got all the DUIs and stuff expunged. I mean, they went through court and it was legal. They did it legal, but they got all that stuff taken care of for me, which would have cost me mega thousands of dollars. And it was just amazing.
So, okay, so after Space Cowboys, this is what a Wicked Angel.
Yeah, I got there. I mean, I jammed with a lot of other people too. I sat in with like Head Dizzy. I got to record. I had the opportunity to record with them down in Chillicothe. I jammed with just a lot of different people, having fun. And then I'm trying to remember what was going on at this time. I was with someone, but Wicked Angel, Rob Rose from Wicked Angel had approached me a few years before this and trying to get me to join his band. And I went to the recording studio, sat and listened to their album that they had just cut. And it wasn't for me. It just didn't ring true for me. Mm-hmm. And for some reason, he really wanted me bad. I don't know if it was the fact of, like whenever you chase a girl and she says no, it makes you want her more. Yeah. So as a guitar player, because he said no, you want to go get him just to prove you can, or I don't know. But
conquest.
As a conquest. That's the only thing I can think of. But he pursued me for like 3 or 4 years, five years, and just nonstop. I mean, every time I turned around, I'd get a call. Hey man, you ought to come and, hey, what are you doing? You playing with anybody? You ought to come play with us, And finally, I hit a point where I didn't have another band. I was like kind of in between bands for a short there. And he called me and I was like, well, he goes, just come check us out. So I went to the club and watched him play. And I really liked the new stuff that they were doing. It was powerful. It was good. And I saw it, and I could see where I could fit in and how I could add my stuff to what they had going on. And so I wound up joining. Here's a funny thing. This is when I met a guy named Thumper.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, man. He is like my brother, man. He is just like one of the most amazing people. He's just unbelievable. He was a biker. I mean, he was like the president of one of the largest motorcycle clubs in the world. He was like a president of that. He was an officer. I'm not gonna mention any names. It's not tactful, but so he was in the chapter, the local chapter in Columbus, who was kind of a big deal. And so whenever I met him, I went and saw them play, and I went for an audition, and learned some of their songs and played. When we were done, he walked up to me and handed me his number. He said, man, if you need anything at all, call me. you're one of us now kind of a thing. And so about 2 days later, I still didn't have a driver's license at this time. About 2 days later, I was driving a car that wasn't legally mine. And I was in down by Morse Road, well, whatever, you know where that is, 161. And I pulled up to this light and I was getting ready to turn, and a semi pulled up beside me and decided to go in front of me and ran over the front of my car. And here I am. I had enough probably alcohol in my system to go to jail, but I didn't have a driver's license and I didn't own the car outright. There was no insurance. And so the car was just front end of it smashed, and the trucker kept going. He didn't stop. So what do? I call Thumper. And this is like the second or third time I talked to him. I was like, dude, you said to call you if I needed anything. Can you come get me, man? I could be in some trouble, you know. And he showed up and came and jumped on his bike, and we left.
Was there a story that that Mike Geezy, our mutual friend, kept you out of jail?
Oh yeah, man. Yeah. That was later on down the road here, but oh yeah. He I was in trouble for driving while suspended. I had back in 2000, when was it? I'm trying to remember what year it was, but it was like 2000 or before. I'd gotten another DUI. I mean, I'd been, you know, completely out and clear of everything for a long time. This is back before, you know, a lot of the other stuff happened. And I wound up driving while suspended, which wound up being a bigger jail sentence than driving while intoxicated. And so I had to spend a couple of weeks in jail. And when I went into jail, I started talking to, I was going into general population. So they were throwing me in the felony blocks or whatever with all these guys. And I was talking to I think it was a lieutenant or a captain, I don't remember, but he was taking all my information and writing it down before he put me in the cell blocks. And he goes, "Oh, you're a musician." I was like, yeah. He goes, "Do you know Mike Geezy by chance?" I said, "Oh yeah, man, I know Mike really well." Yeah. He goes, "Well, I don't know. I forget what the story is. Mike can tell you the rest of it, but and Mike didn't even know it happened. And I wound up telling him a while back, you know, after, you know, just before this thing happened, I told him about it. He didn't even know it happened. And so just by knowing Mike Geezy, he wound up, this guy put me in as a trustee and put me on Easy Street. Okay. So that I didn't have to, I still went to jail, but I didn't go in general population. I went in the easiest part of the jail, you know, with trustees and stuff, just because I knew
you weren't in the bullpen.
No, yeah, exactly. I wasn't in the bullpen. Just because I knew Geezy, that was it. You know, it was funny.
So after Wicked Angel had a record deal, they got a record deal, they toured, they did a lot of touring, right?
Yeah, man. There's a lot of stuff that happened with Wicked Angel. We wound up getting a record deal with an independent local record company. It was some, I'm not going to mention names because there's some bad juju there, but the lead singer had someone who had been his manager for a long time. They wound up expanding, getting a record company. And we were playing a lot around the area here and stuff like that. And we were doing pretty well. We recorded an album, and we were ready to rock and roll. And we signed a deal with this local independent record company for a worldwide deal. There was a lot of things that were supposed to happen. And about 2 weeks after we signed the deal, we get contacted by Noise Records out of Berlin, Germany, which is a very, very large independent record company. And they wanted to sign us, but we had already signed the deal. So they wound up giving us a licensing agreement. So we did a license, they did licensing all over Europe for us. And we wound up getting a tour through Noise Records. And there's a lot that went on, but just to cut to the chase, we wound up going on tour with Iced Earth, Sentenced, and a band called Brainstorm, which was a German band. And all these guys were world-class players, man. It was such a thrill to be able to, intimidating and a thrill to get to be able to share a stage with these guys. And so we played, 20,000 plus seat places. We played a soccer stadium in Rome that held 100,000. We had like 30 some thousand, and it was like, look, empty. So after, let's see, I'm trying to think of what else to add in there, because there were so many wild things that happened on that tour. We got stopped at a border. They brought the drug dogs out. And it was, I think we were going into Italy maybe. And, so you had all the Polizia things on, and they had the German Shepherds, and they made us all get out of the tour bus. And so we were a little scared. Then they recognized Iced Earth, and they were like, oh, so then they wanted autographs, and stuff. And one of the guys that was in one of the bands that was on tour, turned out he didn't have his passport with him. So he wound up getting pulled off the bus. And the band that he got pulled off the bus from had to get another guitar player to come in ASAP, because we're in the middle of the tour. So we did 28 cities and 8 countries in 30 days. And it was a whirlwind. And then, of course, the guitar player who came in, he and I wound up hitting off really, really well. We wound up becoming good friends on the tour. But getting in trouble, tour manager hated us because we drank a lot. and that was, I don't know. We wound up, but we burnt. We did a show in Germany somewhere. I can't remember because it's all a blur. But we were sitting outside after the show, and there were picnic tables. We had a bonfire and ran out of wood. So somebody had a bright idea and started busting up the picnic tables and throwing them in the fire. And needless to say, we got in a lot of trouble for that. But then we wound up, I know we're starting to run quick on time. So we wound up we wound up kind of getting screwed over by a record company in the United States. So Rob Rose, who was the lead singer and the kind of the leader of the band, decided that he wanted to break the contract with them. So he sued them to get out of the contract, which means, all of us were involved in that because we were in the band with him. They countersued $100,000 for each person of the band and $100,000 to the band as a whole. So we wound up with an $800,000 lawsuit against us, and they sued us for the name of the band. They sued us for all of the material that we had on the last album, because they had that album on their label, and we were playing in their field because one of the people that were president, vice president, whatever, the record label, had been raised around all of these judges and stuff, because her dad was one of the judges, a big judge in the Columbus area, whatever. Yeah. And here we wound up finding out that the lead singer was stealing from us, and so there was
Rob Rose.
Yeah.
Okay.
So he was getting royalties and stuff and wasn't telling us about them.
Yeah.
So there was a pretty big fallout. Long story short, we were a biker band. Long story short, he was really lucky to walk out without, losing limbs and, everything else. Yeah. But we told him, it's like, okay, you don't run the show anymore. We're doing it as a band. It's got to be a democracy. We're going to have to say yes or no before you make any decisions. And then he finally said, okay, blah, blah, blah. Long story short, he left, just disappeared, and left us holding this lawsuit bag. So we wound up having to go to court, and we're all being sued for $100,000 a piece, $100,000 for the band, as well as all the other stuff. and couldn't afford an attorney. We had no money. We're musicians. We got nothing. You know? And some guy was really nice and volunteered his time, and he went in to defend us, but didn't have a chance. I mean, the judge seemed extremely biased against us. You know, every time that the judge would say something that really didn't seem right at all. Whatever, you know, it was about the, you know, it was going along with every complaint that she had made against us. And every time we tried to say something about it, we were shut down. So we wound up losing the deal. So we lost the lawsuit, but we didn't have to pay the $100,000. She knew we didn't have that anyway. They got the name Wicked Angel. They got rights to all the songs on the album. One of the stipulations was we weren't allowed to play together for 2 years, or the record company got 50% of whatever it was that we got. Even if two of us went out to a little club and played and got $300, they got $150 out of it, you know. So we spent 2 years, that 2 years that we weren't allowed to do that, we spent that 2 years writing a very angry 16-song album. And
what was the name of that band?
Bone Shovel.
Okay.
And it was never actually released. It came really close. We went back to Noise Records, and we actually flew out. The bass player and I flew out to Germany and hung out and got to go hang out at the record company, and they played it and they really seemed to love it. I mean, they were kind of going, so they were saying this is what Wicked Angel was supposed to be or should have been, and blah, 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 blah. Long story, I'm not going to go into details, but it didn't happen. So the record deal didn't happen. The lady in the other record label, the one who sued us, had said that I am going to make it so that none of you guys will ever be able to get a record deal again. I'm going to make sure you're blacklisted wherever you go, blah, 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 blah. It happened. So, yeah, like I said, I don't want to go into detail because it's kind of tricky.
So around this time, things started piling up on your personal life. Let's start talking about that.
Okay. Yeah, I had throughout all of this stuff, I was a heavy, hardcore binge drinker. I mean, I was drinking and doing drugs through life. You know, I right after my father died when I was 22, I started into the cocaine. So I started drinking when I was 3. Same time I got my guitar, I started drinking. My mom had a keg on tap, and I just sneak that stuff constantly. So by the time this all happened, I mean, I had stopped drinking at times, and I would binge. I'd stay clean for a little while, start drinking. At this point in time, I had gotten into crack. Not only was I doing a ton of cocaine whenever I could, and drinking like a maniac because, you know, I mean, everything was gone. I was just falling apart. And so I wound up doing a ton of crack, and I wound up, I'm going to make this fast because we're running out of time after a couple minutes. I wound up living in somebody's backyard that I didn't even know. I had just met them, and living in a pup tent and going to work, working for them, painting. You know, this guy had his painting company, so I'd go paint, and we'd get home, go back. I'd start drinking as soon as I got back and do crack all night. And I was trying to commit suicide, I was trying to kill myself through substance abuse and all of that. Because, I wound up, and again, this is going 100 miles an hour. I wound up running into Thumper again, whom I hadn't seen for years. You know, I hadn't seen for a few years. He and I used to be roommates. I'm leaving a whole bunch out here. We had been roommates, and so I ran into him. I was doing crack and drinking, and he and I started talking, and we started talking about God, and he said, "Man, I need a roommate. You're welcome to come stay at my house." And I was homeless, so I thought about it. The next day, I gave him a call, and he came and picked me up. And on the way to his house, he said, "The only thing I ask is no drinking, no drugs in my house." I was like, no problem. First big miracle that ever happened. I woke up the next day and I didn't have a hangover. I'd been on a solid 2 months nonstop binge every day from the time I get up till the time I pass out, because I didn't go to sleep and pass out. I was doing crack and drinking solid. And so I was beat up, and I never woke up without a hangover. I was always curled up in a little ball for at least 3 hours, or not 3 hours, 3 days, 3 or 4 days, shaking before I could even get out of bed whenever I was on these binges. And I woke up the next day and I had none, no hangover, nothing. And he said that he had a small meeting to go to his church where he was going. So just a small little meeting. We'll be there just for a few minutes. And the associate pastor asked for, said, man, yeah, he can come, just bring him along. We get to this church, which is this church where I'm at, the River Church in the Barn, Delaware, Ohio, where there's a whole bunch of rock musicians from Columbus that are in this worship team and here now. So I came in, and his little meeting turned out to be a 10-hour leadership retreat. So I was here for 10 hours, and I did, like, the day before, 2 days before, I just came off a 2-month crack binge, and whenever he had picked me up, we were on our way to his house. I told him, I said, dude, there's no way, my life's over. There's no way anybody's going to want anything to do with me at all, because I've lost everything. I've got nothing left up here. I got nothing left here. He goes, just wait, you'll see. And this is going really fast. But 1 year later, after I had said that to him, I started church. 1 year later, I was married to the pastor's daughter. And I had this amazing son that is just unbelievable. And I was brought into this family of people that I can't even begin to describe, because I've never seen anything like it in my life. And all the people at the church, it was nothing like I'd ever imagined, because everybody just treated me like, well, I just felt like I'd almost known all of them forever, because they were just normal people. They were like, some of them had been in a lot of trouble themselves, and they just accepted me, and I was just like, wow, this is cool. So I wound up getting saved. The most important thing that hit me during this time was I was carrying around so much baggage that I realized that I had been forgiven for everything that I'd done. So the whole time that I drink and party, I called it chasing the hangover, because I didn't want to face what I was going to have to face whenever I stopped smoking crack, drinking, doing coke, and all that other stuff, because I knew not only was it going to be physically annihilating, it was going to be mentally annihilating, because I was going to have to face up to all the reality of what I'd caused. And whenever I actually understood what that meant, that I was forgiven, it doesn't mean that, okay, I forgive you. Whenever God forgives you, or Jesus forgives you, it's like it never happened. Slate clean. You're starting all over from scratch. None of the stuff happened. It's gone. It's blotted out. So nothing to be guilty about. You don't have to hold on to that stuff anymore. It's gone.
Yeah.
And,
so that's a weight off of your shoulders that you don't. That doesn't help. Having that weight on your shoulders does not help anything.
Oh no.
No. That's an albatross.
Yeah, buddy.
Yeah.
It is. Yeah. And it's something that's hard to do, especially being a guy or whatever. You drag it around, you look at your life and you see what a mess you've made, and you've got nothing, you've lost everything, and you screwed it up, and you blame yourself, you hate yourself. I blame God. I ran around during all this crack binge stuff, screaming at the top of my lungs at God, blaming him for taking my parents, blaming him for leaving me in the situation I was in, blaming him for my addictions, blaming him for everything that happened in my life, and then after I got saved, everything just kind of went and changed. Big switch happened.
I'm a believer in energies.
Yeah, man. Yeah.
That's my thing.
Yeah.
That whole thing is an energy shift.
Yeah, it is.
That whole.
Yep, I can absolutely get on board with that.
Yeah.
That's what it feels like. I mean, it's like we call it, you get the Holy Spirit,
Yeah.
So you get that the Holy Spirit comes in, and it just it doesn't make life easier, you know, and in a lot of ways, especially today in our environment, being a Christian isn't really a good thing, you know, as far as society thinks, you know, there's a lot of negative things said about Christians, but it's none of that stuff is true. But so yeah, after I got saved, I mean, so many things happened. Like I said, I mean, I know we're out of time. I can't go on very far with this.
So here's the deal. Your music, you came back to music with a different, with a different headspace.
Right. Yeah. At one point.
What are you doing now? That's what we all want to know. This is part. This is
okay.
part of the story.
Yeah.
We want to.
Yeah. We are just about to finish up a new album. The Christian band, the worship band that I work with here
So
at
you're
church.
working at the church that you're at now.
Yes, I'm a media director and I'm also an assistant worship leader.
Okay.
So the cool thing is that the guy who took Jojo Fastrich was the drummer for Wicked Angel.
Yeah.
And whenever he left, I wound up getting a hold of through a mutual friend, Tommy McCulloch, got a hold of Matt Miller, and he toured with us in Wicked Angel, and he's here now. He was a total atheist, man. He was nothing to do with God. He came here to sit in and help us for a couple of weeks because we needed a drummer. That was what, 7-8 years ago. Now he's saved and he's just amazing. Same thing with Trent Anderson from Tamerlane. He's here playing guitar with us now. And Drew Collins, I didn't get to go there. I mean, he and I were really good.
We're gonna have a round 2, Dwight. So don't worry.
Oh yeah,
your story's not done. But it's like I just wanted the good stuff that you're doing now and music and how music is. What is music doing for you now?
Yeah, it's
how are you spreading your word with your truths and your word and the word.
Right. Yeah. We're like I said, we're working on a new album right now, and we are.
What's the name of the band, by the way?
River right now is the name of the band. We're playing at the River. It's the River Worship Band. Right now we're going with River.
Okay.
Just River. So the stuff that we've got going right now is it's a little eclectic, not too much. We've got some worship stuff that is very, very much church worship stuff. And we got stuff that's heavier, it's harder, it's more hard rock stuff, you know, blazing solos and stuff like that. And matter of fact, I want to, if I can get it done, I'm going to leave one of the songs in the comments.
Absolutely.
If I can do that.
Yeah. When I make the YouTube video, I'll put that in the comments.
Awesome, man.
Yeah, or that in the description, I should say.
Sweet. Yeah, I want to make that available. People can take it and listen to it so they can see what's coming up.
Yeah.
You know, we've been working on this for a while because of, you know, situations, but we're pushing real fast now, so we should have it done before too long. And so that's the whole idea, is that reaching out and showing people, especially through music, man, because whenever I got saved, I love stage work, man. On stage, I just feel it. I just go, man. You know, it's just, you know, you just feel it and you let it out. And that's what music is. That's what performing is. And whenever I realized what that meant, whenever I started the worship band, I started really, I mean, I get tears in my eyes when I play sometimes now. I mean, it's just so emotional. It's just unbelievable because of the truth that's coming out through the music is far more powerful than anything that I by myself tried to push. When I'm trying to push it for me, that's all, hey, look at me, you know?
Yeah.
It ain't what music is, you know?
Yeah.
But, so now it's, I want to reach out and show people the real Jesus, because the real Jesus is not what I ever thought he was. It's not what any of my friends that I knew at the time ever. I mean,
probably a lot of people to be honest with you.
Yeah. You have this preconceived notion of, of TV evangelists ripping people off and all this fakery and all this thee, thy, thou, and people all high and mighty. And man, that ain't what it is.
Yeah.
It's a personal relationship. It's a buddy. It's a friend. It's a brother.
Yeah.
It's a guy, someone you can turn to all the time, man, and who loves you for who you are, no matter what happens. And of course, you got to try to walk the right way. And, you can't just go out and do crazy stuff and go, okay, now forgive me. It's not like that, but he loves you for who you are. And it's amazing. I mean, there I go preaching, but
You're all right. This is your story.
Yeah.
You say it your way.
Well, man, if I would have done it my way, I'd be dead by now. I've talked about this with friends.
Tonight,
man.
Tonight it was your way.
Yeah.
Nobody has to die.
Yeah, that's a good thing.
All right. Well, thank you, Dwight. We are going to have a round 2, and we're going to
Okay, brother.
We're going to talk about like this and many things. I like the things that I am interested in, and it's like the spirituality and your spirituality, and how you've taken music and you're trying to, that feeling that you get, you want to share with others.
Oh yeah.
And it's like that thing that the spirit, whatever that, that's probably maybe the best stuff you could share, bring to the world. Yeah,
it's true. I just real quick, because you said something that hit when I was 16 years old. I was playing in my dad's bar. My dad owned the bar. I knew everybody in the bar. I knew this guy had just lost his son in a car wreck. This guy was going through a nasty divorce. This lady was going through some horrible stuff at her job. I seen them every day, and every day I saw them in the bar, they were just like this. They were sad. It's just their life sucked. And while we were playing on stage, the guy who lost his son and the lady who lost her job and all that, they were dancing on tables together. They were laughing. They were having a good time. They were having fun. Everybody was smiling. All these people that I seen all the time with these horrible things going on in their life, they'd forgotten about that for a while. Yeah. And I was like, if I can be a part of doing this.
Yeah. Yeah, it is a thing that I think it's I think of music as a language, kind of a language of the transcendent.
Yeah.
I don't understand it all. And I don't think I'm meant to understand it all. But I know there's lots of stuff going on that is beyond me.
Yeah, brother, you and me both, man. I mean,
but it's all I know is it's good energy.
Yeah, brother.
And because of that, I'm never fully alone in my thoughts and in my, you know what I mean? So we will continue. We will continue this. Brother. All right. And I thank you so much.
Thank you guys for what you're doing, because what you're doing, if you weren't doing this, it'd all be lost, man. You guys are awesome. You and Mike Geezy, thank you.
Thank you. Well, thank you, Michael, because he's and we were going to see you when I come to town. I'm gonna make it. I'm gonna make a trip.
Fabulous, man.
Alrighty. Thanks so much, Dwight.
Thank you.
Bless you.
Bless you too, buddy.
See ya.